So it is Thursday morning and I'm just now starting this weekly vlog because, in short, this week has been a bit of a shit show. So starting off this week, every day so far I've not felt good. I've woken up with nausea, I've woken up with headaches, and it's just been not good. And then on top of that, at work, I don't really have a lot to do, so I'm sitting around bored, but I also am not quite getting through all the books I wanted to this month. I have worked and reworked my reading schedule like 5 times, and I'm right now still a little behind. Currently, I'm working on The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. So far this week, I have managed to finally get through all of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which I really enjoyed. I really liked it, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I don't want to talk much more about that right now. Just because it's going to take a lot for me to talk about, and I kind of would rather talk about my thoughts on it in my wrap-up because it's going to be a little bit more in-depth, but just to kind of go over some of the things I liked about it. Obviously, it was so well written. I'm genuinely impressed with the level of writing ability and the level of world building that this book had for someone who, when she was writing it, was in her master's course. R.F. Kuang, or Rebecca Kuang as she is known, she wrote this story probably while she was in her bachelor's degree, but had it published while she was getting her master's. And this book literally looks like it was something that had been worked on for years. It was polished, it was so well done, everything was absolutely amazing, and the level of world building that was in this story and the level of myth that was used in it and everything involved with the story, it could not have only been worked on for maybe a couple years, if that. This looked like something that had been worked on for at least 5 years, and that is amazing, and it really showed. This book truly looks like it was a labor of love, and I loved every single part of it. And it makes me really excited to know that I have the arc for her second book, The Dragon Republic, and I'm really excited to be able to read it later this month because I truly enjoyed my time reading The Poppy War. And what was really great about it too, and one of the reasons I think I loved it so much, was that the chapters, although they were long, I was flying through them. I read over 300 pages, like 308 pages on Tuesday night. And I couldn't put it down. I really couldn't. It was impossible for me to. And by the time I finished, it was about midnight on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And I was finally like, I did it, I finished it, and now I'm so happy. As far as what it counted for in challenges, the Poppy War counted for one of my History of Magic courses for the NEWTS. It was for my A level, which was to read a fantasy, which this technically was a fantasy. It played on a lot of urban fantasy, which was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. Also, it kind of was set what seemed to be a little back in the past, and now I'm down 2 books out of the 33 or so. Also, I've been listening to The Hating Game. I listened to that for about an hour and a half yesterday, and a little bit on Monday as well, and I'm really liking that. I don't really care for, though, the love interest. He's kind of a dick, and like that's the point of the story, is that he's a dick, but I really don't like him, and I really don't think he is that interesting, and I keep getting this really bad vibe off of him. So that one's kind of iffy, but that's my audiobook for the month, so it's not really counting for like my NEWTS and stuff. But the next book I'm reading that's counting for my NEWTS is The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima, the first book in the 7 Realms series. This is counting for my other History of Magic course, that for my E level for History of Magic, which is to read a book that has a map in it, which this does in the very beginning. It has a map in it. I could have really used The Poppy War, I think, for this one too, but I wanted to have separate books for each of the prompts. So far, I'm 98 pages into this one, and that's about as much as I read yesterday, because I had some really awful things happen yesterday that I'll explain in a minute, but so far it's okay. It's not really that engrossing. Like, I'm able to move through it, but it's not really super interesting. I'm not really jiving with it at the moment like I thought I would, because I've heard a lot of good things about Cinda Williams Chima's work. But I'm not really jiving with this one at the moment. Maybe if I get further into it, I will. I'm trying to make it a point that with my NEWTS books, I don't DNF anything, so I'm going to get through this one at some point. And I think that because especially today I'm working from home and I have nothing I can really do, this is probably what I'm going to be doing most of the day. A little bit of a life update. My car died yesterday, which was not fun, and is part of the reason why I'm not in such a good mood at the moment. So let me start from what happened starting Sunday. So last weekend, you guys know, I went to my parents' house to puppy sit, and Sunday morning I came back. Turns out that my car, according to Robert, when we went to go get groceries before, was making a weird sound. And Monday morning I went to work and he said it was still making that sound, and he said that when I went to see him before I went to work, because he was still at work, he said that it smelled like it was burning something, and it was burning something sweet, which typically means that the transmission fluid is burning. So obviously all day Monday I'm panicking, hoping my car doesn't explode at any point, and I get to work fine. And I'm sitting at my desk panicking because I'm like, what if my car doesn't even start when I go to leave work? And I leave work and it's fine. That sound went away. I don't smell anything burning and everything's fine. Tuesday works perfectly fine, no issues. Wednesday I get to work fine in the morning, no problems. I leave work, nothing's wrong. Seemed like it had a bit of a hard time starting when I went to leave work, but nothing was major. I got gas, was able to leave the gas station and head to the library so I could pick up my copy of Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castiel, which finally got in. And then I leave the library to get back in my car and turn it on, and nothing. So Robert basically has to come find me at the library, and neither of us have jumper cables because we think it might have something to do with the battery or maybe even the alternator, and so to test it we had to go get jumper cables to try to jumpstart the car, and it doesn't work. And he tries to turn it on and turn it on and turn it on, try to get it to start. And according to what he thinks, because he knows much more about cars than I do, he thinks it might have something to do with possibly a fuel issue not getting to the engine and everything. So last night we had to leave it at the library. I talked to the people at the library and they said that it was fine for me to leave it overnight. And this morning we are having it towed. It is actually should be getting picked up here pretty soon, and it is being towed to the shop where I had my car fixed in March, and hopefully it gets worked on today. I know that they're kind of busy though this morning, so they've got a lot of cars ahead of me, so it's entirely possible they won't get to it today. But essentially, I'm kind of carless for a little bit, which really sucks. And thankfully though, and this is where I really, really am thankful for the job I have, I'm able to work from home if I need to. It's very understandable because things happen, and I just didn't expect to work from home today and tomorrow because I was already taking off Monday and working from home Tuesday, because on Monday I'm going to Cedar Point with Robert and our friend Ryan. I'm a little upset. Like, this is not something I was expecting to happen, and it happens, I know, and it's part of growing up, I guess, but you know, I just wasn't expecting it to happen. Wasn't thinking it was going to happen, but I guess I had enough warnings going on earlier this week that it should have known something was going to happen, and I just ignored it. So I'm trying to stay positive though, because like I said, Monday I'm going to Cedar Point, which is really fun. I have not been there since I was like probably 10 years old, so it's been a long time. And you know, there's nothing at this point that I can do. Now it's just up to figuring out what exactly is wrong with the car, and then kind of where do I go from there. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got for you guys right now. Like I said, probably because I'm not going to be doing a lot of work today because I have nothing I can absolutely do, I'm going to be reading most of this. I'm going to try to finish it today if I can. I'm going to sit down though and rework my reading schedule and recording schedule a little bit though, because I don't think that this week I'm going to be able to come out with my childhood friends Let's Play, which kind of sucks. Hi guys, so it's about 4:15 in the afternoon, and my week's basically just gone from bad to worse because at about after 2 o'clock this afternoon, so a couple hours ago, found out that my dog Daisy passed away. You guys know I have Kaya, or my parents have Kaya rather, but I don't know if I ever told you guys that we had another dog, and she had to stay outside because unfortunately a few years ago she had stopped having control over her bladder, and we thought that putting her outside towards the end of the summer that she wasn't gonna make it much longer after that. And somehow for the next 3-4 years or so she had been fine. Even in the winters, we always would take care of her. We would be giving her straw that my grandparents would have in the barn, and we kept her comfortable and everything, made sure that she was getting, you know, everything she needed, even though she was outside, because we just couldn't keep her inside the house anymore. But we always took care of her, we always made sure she was okay, and there were a few times that we expected that she wasn't gonna make it. And apparently this afternoon, my younger sister went outside to check on her. She was gone. This is really hard for me because many of you may know that a couple years ago we lost our dog Denali, and that was really hard on us, but Daisy we have had much longer. She, I think this year was I think she was about 14. So she was old. We had been expecting, you know, it was possible she wasn't gonna make it much longer, but I don't know. Just, it still really hurts because she was my first dog. She was such a sweetheart, and I really hate that we had to put her outside for so long, but we couldn't keep her in the house. She kept making a mess, and it was just easier for us to have her outside, and she was fine. She loved being outside. Like, she was an outside kind of dog. Like, she really liked being out there in the sun and everything. It's been a very, very rough week, unfortunately, and I'm trying to, you know, stay positive and everything, but I just can't believe that I'm never gonna see my dog again. So for the next few weeks, I kind of am just down. That's probably one of the reasons why, because when we lost Denali a couple of years ago, it took me a very long time to move on from it, so I don't expect this to be any different. Hi guys, so it is Sunday morning, afternoon, I think almost, and first of all, I would like to say that I'm doing a lot better than I was Thursday. The last few days I've kind of taken from recording anything because obviously I was dealing with a lot of things because like I said, my car's been out of commission, but that hopefully will be actually done tomorrow afternoon and I can go pick it up Tuesday, which is great. And then obviously, as you guys saw in the last clip, I was dealing with a lot because my dog had passed away. I'm doing okay now. It still really stings a little though because I loved her so much, and just, it really sucks, but I'm doing better now. I'm hoping I can get back into the swing of things. I know this vlog is not very great. It's quite sad, honestly, and I'm very sorry for that, but I'm gonna end on a better note with it. And the last few days, I will say I've kind of gotten behind on a reading schedule again because partially with how this week has gone, I haven't had the motivation to read because I've been really sad and really angry and frustrated and anxious and everything, and so I was so drained of energy mentally and emotionally that I couldn't focus on reading. But the last couple days I have been able to finish The Demon King by Cinda Williams Chima. This is the first book in the Seven Realms series, and to be completely honest, I'm kind of disappointed with the story. I wouldn't say there was anything inherently wrong with it. Like, the writing style was fine. I did like the world, and I liked the beginnings of these characters to an extent. I felt that there was some issues I had with, I think, the two main characters in the story, mostly because I think that they're kind of, I don't know, I felt like Princess Reza in this was a little whiny at points. And kind of was getting in too big for her britches, and Han was kind of just, you know, a bit arrogant, a little bit, you know, full of himself in a way, but as the story got further and further, obviously things happened, and so they kind of changed their mindsets, and that was fine, but my initial thoughts of them were not great, and to be completely honest, I just wasn't wowed by this book by any means. Nothing was super extravagant. Like, I wasn't emotionally attached to anybody. I wasn't, you know, really invested with the politics. I will say, though, that the end of the story, the very end of it, does leave off in a really cool kind of going off into the sun moment where you're, you know, kind of wanting to see what happens next, because obviously things have gotten really, really bad, and now there's a turning point and people are going off in different directions. One thing I will say, though, that I distinctly disliked about this is that there are many points in the story where perspectives are changed, and one of my biggest pet peeves within any work, my biggest pet peeve, is when there are multiple perspectives in a novel and the author doesn't take the time to indicate whose perspective we are looking from in the chapter. It is one of my biggest pet peeves, because I hate having to be so confused with who is involved with each chapter when it takes 5 seconds at the beginning of each chapter or beginning of a section of a chapter to write the character's name that you are seeing the perspective of. I feel like that's so lazy for a lot of authors to not even do that. So that might have had a huge impact on that, because I felt like there were many points where I was a little confused as to who I was seeing the perspective of until I got a little further in the chapter, and then I saw a name. And honestly, I felt like there were 2 main perspectives in this, but then you saw the perspectives of a couple other smaller characters that, not really even smaller characters, like they still have a really big role in the story, but their perspectives were played into this, and I don't necessarily think they needed to be in there. There's like 2 supporting characters, Micah Bayer and Eamon Breyer, something like that. They both had perspectives in this, which I didn't necessarily feel like was needed. I really didn't think that they absolutely needed any kind of a perspective within this, other than, you know, showcasing how they both were pretty much in love with the female main character of the story. I also felt like, you know, there's 2 main characters here who eventually meet up, and that was great, but typically when that happens, there is a larger point to them meeting, and I felt like with this, the point of the meeting had no effect whatsoever, and you didn't even see that effect, though, until later, and you didn't understand why they met up in the first place until you get to the end of the novel, because then it becomes obvious that they're gonna meet up again and things of that nature. But I feel like if you're gonna have 2 characters from different ends of the world kind of meet up in a first novel, you have to have a bigger impact with that. That's what I love a lot of times about multiple perspective books. For some reason, the one that comes to mind is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. You have 2 characters in that novel who are from completely different ends of the world, completely different ends of the spectrum of this world, and they meet up, and things kind of ensue from there, because obviously their meeting is important, and how they meet is important, and what happens after they meet is a byproduct of, you know, the world and, you know, both of their purposes in the world. And with this, it almost felt like that wasn't even important. Like, it would have been, like, it almost felt like there was no point to them both even meeting. But you don't realize that there is an importance to that meeting until the very end of the book. And just really frustrated me, because I don't like it when things happen and they don't come to fruition, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is going to be important later. That makes no sense to me. Why would you not make it important at the moment and just leave the author to assume that these guys are never going to meet again, when it's very obvious at the end of the novel they're going to meet again for a specific purpose? I don't know. I didn't care for this. I don't feel like I was really interested in it. I got through the whole thing, though, so I don't know, just a lot of it I felt like was kind of mediocre for me. I didn't like a lot of what the story was doing. I don't think, though, that the writing style was really that bad. I actually liked the writing style of it. I liked the world that there was. I thought that was very interesting. But I just feel like the overall structure of the novel and the characters, to an extent, were not really that interesting, nor was it really that effective for a story. I don't think I'm gonna continue with the series. I feel like I don't have any desire to do it. And that makes me sad because I heard so many good things about Cinda Williams Chima's writing, and I'm really disappointed. I don't know why. I guess maybe I had too high expectations going into this. I mean, I really didn't have any expectations, to be completely honest, because I had no idea what this was even about. But now I'm kind of sad because, you know, I wanted to really like this and I just didn't. So that's upsetting. But anyway, so my next book, so this actually was completing my NEWTS challenge for my E-levels of History of Magic, which was to read a book that had a map in it. So that's done now. I have 2 books left for the NEWTS I have to read. One is Summerlings, which is I don't quite know if it's like a nonfiction per se, but it's like based in World War II, I believe, and it's kind of a contemporary, I think, to some extent. So it's kind of like historical fiction, I guess, is what I would kind of put it with. But that one is going to be completing my Muggle Studies A-level, which is to read a book that has a photo element in the cover. I have to record my episode of Childhood Friends because I didn't put one up yesterday because this week was kind of crazy and I didn't get a chance to record last weekend. And then I think do a little bit of research for Buddhism, but I think that that's about it, and spending the rest of the day, I think, reading. So my hope is that I can get through Summerlings going through this afternoon and this evening, and tomorrow I'm going to be going to Cedar Point with Robert and a friend of ours, so I think I can get through maybe part of Spellslinger tonight and then maybe finish it tomorrow. I don't know. I'd have to look back at my whole reading schedule thing. Maybe I have to completely redo it. I don't know. We'll see. But at this point, what I can tell you is that in terms of my reading schedule, I'm not going to get through all the books I wanted to this month, I think, because the last few days I was kind of stuck with both the Poppy War and then also was stuck with the Demon King because this week was just an absolute travesty for me in terms of my reading, but I'm hopeful I can kind of work something out. Also, yesterday I listened to a little bit more of The Hating Game. I listened to like a chapter. I think I'm kind of getting over that hump of just sadness, and I feel less anxious because the last couple days have been really great. Robert's taken account into how I'm feeling, and you know, he's been really, really awesome with taking care of me and making sure I'm okay, because I was really in a bad spot Thursday night specifically, and a little bit on Friday. So I'm very grateful that he was here to take care of me, because I think that if he wasn't, you know, making sure that I was okay and everything, I would be still in a really bad spot today. But thankfully that's passed and I'm able to kind of move on. So I'm gonna get some stuff figured out and then probably record for a little bit. So I will talk to you guys probably later tonight with a final update of what I end up reading and you know, what I decide to do with the rest of this this month. Hey guys, so it's about 9:30 at night now, and I think I'm just going to turn in for the day. I have not picked up anything since I finished The Demon King, and to be completely honest, I found that pretty okay. I've essentially figured out what's going to work best, I think, with the books I have to read, because honestly, all I care about at this point, I think this month, is really getting my NEWTS reads done and my ARCs done. And I think that given the time I have left in the month, I should be able to get both of those sets of books done, and then probably start, maybe even get through my rereads for the Morganville Vampires. I'm not too worried about it. I think the worst thing that can really happen is I'm not going to get through all of my random TBRs for the month to catch myself back up with all those. So that's not really that huge of a deal for me, considering that I think September is going to be not so much a month of catch-up, but a month where I'm going to spend the majority of the month anyway really reading anything I want, because I only have a few arcs that I have to read in September, and I don't plan on doing any readathons in September or October. So I think that regardless of what really happens the rest of this month, I should be fine. I'm just not going to get to the page goal I wanted this month, but my biggest concern at the moment is getting through all of my reads for the NEWTS and my ARCs, like I said. So what my plan is since tomorrow morning I have to get up kind of early, I'm going to kind of sit and relax for the rest of the night, probably watch some YouTube videos before I go to bed, and then I have to get up by no later than I think 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, so that I am up and around by the time Robert gets home from work.
tomorrow morning, and then we are going to be heading off to Cedar Point. Tomorrow I'm going to start, and part of the reason too I didn't read was because my iPad had to charge pretty much all day because it was dead apparently. I'm going to start Summerlings tomorrow, and then probably by the time I get back, depending on how quick I can get through the book, my guess is that by the time we head back from Cedar Point, I'll either have this nearly finished or have it finished and be able to start Spellslinger within the drive home. That is my guess, considering that Summerlings is only like 250 pages, and as of this morning, I read through over 100 within a couple hours. So I think it's feasible for me to get through 256 pages either by the time we get to Cedar Point or finishing it up on the ride back and then getting started with part of Spellslinger and then continuing that into Tuesday. And I'm working from home Tuesday, and more than likely I'm not going to really have a lot to do, so I probably can sit and read Spellslinger for a little bit while I wait for something to fall into my lap at work, so with work. So anyway, yeah, this next week's also going to be really crazy because I also am doing a fundraiser thing that with my mom, her 31 business that she has. I've been doing a fundraiser for the last few weeks for the Ronald McDonald House, and Wednesday is like our official meetup to like have everyone meet her, and it's pretty much within my work group, so everyone gets to basically meet my mom, and we're raising money, like I said, so I'm not going to be back home Wednesday night probably until like after 8 or so, because after dinner, or after that, she and I are going to dinner, and so and it's over like almost an hour back from where I work, so I probably won't get back here till at least like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then I'm pretty much going to have to go to bed because I'm going to have to get up early to get to work the next day. So, but once I get through Wednesday, the rest of the week should be pretty good. So, that's my hope at least, provided nothing else happens, because I'm supposed to get my car on Tuesday morning, so I hope that nothing else happens to it and nothing else bad happens. That's hopefully the goal for next week. So anyway, I'm so sorry that this vlog has been really, sad, and I'm sorry that it's been kind of down, but I like to use these reading vlogs as a way to like really show you guys a little bit of my life, and unfortunately this was just a really bad week, and I just don't want to not put out something because obviously I'm doing these these reading vlogs for like specific readathons in the NEWTS. I think in September I'm going to limit the stuff that I'm doing with the reading vlogs, because I kind of started up doing the reading vlogs again because of the fact that June I was doing the Biblio games, July I had the Book Junkie trials and the Bibliothon that I never really got a part of, and then this month I have the NEWTS. So I think I might take September to back off from the vlogs a little bit, and like I said before, doing like a reading diary for the Morganville Vampires, maybe do a reading diary of me doing each individual random TBR book. I think that could work, and just posting them, as much as I can. And then obviously I'm gonna, at the end of the month, have a lot of videos I'm gonna be recording for my reviews for the books I get through that I want to do reviews of. If I can get to any of my random TBRs at the end of the month, I'll have review videos out, and then like my August wrap up, my September TBR, those kinds of things. And then my Childhood Friends Let's Play, if it continues, which I think we're kind of getting to the end of it, so within the next several weeks I think it's going to be ending. But I have some things I'm kind of working through that I think are going to work best for me, and I know that once I think September kind of rolls around, I'm going to be a little burnt out of doing the weekly reading vlogs, and since I'm not doing readathons specifically in September or October, it makes sense to me to kind of back off on those just a little bit, just to kind of give myself a little bit of a breather and not feel as stressed, and then also, reserving the vlogs for like the special things, like the reread series of the Morganville Vampires, or, having specific reading vlogs for my random TBRs, just kind of like doing it like that, or maybe like I do a reading vlog of me doing all my random TBR books that I'm catching myself back up on, stuff like that. Like I'll figure it out when I get there, but I think that just in general, the reading vlogs after this month might be a little bit more sparse, just because since I'm not doing a specific readathon that I feel like I need to document throughout the month, it's just going to make it a lot easier, and it's going to make a lot more sense. But who knows, maybe it'll come to September and I'm still raring to go with reading vlogs and will still want to do them throughout the month. Who knows? It's entirely possible that might be the case, but you know, we're not going to know till we get there. So just keep that in mind for those of you that like these reading vlogs, that, you know, it may come where they become a little more sparse again until I start doing a readathon. So that's kind of it for me for this vlog. Let me know what you guys would like to see going forward with like the vlogs, if there's anything specific. I think that in the future I'm going to start trying to do kind of more aesthetic things, because I've been really inspired recently by a lot of vloggers for BookTube, like especially Zariah Rose. My god, the fairy queen of BookTube, I swear, where she does very aesthetic looking videos, and I kind of want to try to do that more, but a lot of my time also goes to like sitting and doing my reading, and so I don't always remember to do those aesthetic bits and stuff, but I try when I can. And if there's anything that you'd like to share with me that might brighten up my week next week, considering that this past week was kind of a flop, and let me know what you guys are reading, how you're doing in the Newts. You know, I'm kind of doing all right, you know, 2 weeks in almost, and I've got through my first 3 books of the Newts, and I have 2 left to go. Not a bad way to start off the month, I think. But yeah, let me know how you guys are doing. Are you doing any other readathons this month? Are you planning on doing any in September and October that you know of? And anyway, I will just see all of you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.